Well, we returned to that Pacific Northwest city to face the darkness that drove us away and into the eye of the storm and its deceptive calm. We are worn, scarred, fed up, but still alive somehow. Only we're still displaced. We received no hero's welcome nor ticker tape parade to herald our efforts to claw our way back to the community. With just a week into my birthday, I told myself that they were all hiding, waiting for a big surprise and reveal. I don't know who they were. I suppose the same people who we'd given immense love and support to, only to have them turn their backs on us in our time of need. After the accident, the promise of homecoming was wrapped in the anticipation of a creek rebuild and the illusion of reintegration, like prodigal sheep rejoining the flock. Instead, we arrived to find a housing market that has little room for those in real need. Weeks later, we're houseless. No, we're homeless. We join the ranks in that respect. This city is rife with riffraff, mental illness, poverty, destitution, prostitution, and all manner of addiction. There is no shortage of seedy motels to accommodate, but no permanent solutions for such pervasive epidemics such as these. My son and I have had to switch motels 6 times since we arrived. The general sentiment seemed to be that given enough time, irreparable property damage would ensue. Or perhaps it was that no one wanted to be responsible for what might happen to a child on the premises of one of these seedy establishments, nor what depravity they may be witness to. I would have assumed that there would be more compassion for a child's well being in whatever situation necessitated their being unhoused and at the mercy of the streets. However, I suppose discrimination is a far lesser sin than plausible deniability in the end. I could not help but conclude that my blackness condemns us both. My very white presenting son caught in the crosshairs of the lasting effects of colonization. It was in those moments that I hated my blackness for him. It made no difference that I was well spoken, polite, obviously sober, sane ish, or adequately financed. Even when I front loaded the request for accommodation with our woe-begone tale of turmoil, strife, and grief-stricken loss, our pleas for refuge fell on deaf ears. Our worn yet eager expressions met with blank stares. They were desensitized. This city had seen too much. I had too, for that matter. I was desensitized to the abuse, the rejection. I did not even argue or show upset when my son and I were turned away from a property with a loud neon vacancy sign and obviously empty rooms. I had even called first to ensure there was a room available. On the phone, however, I sounded like a very proper and appropriately pallid person. In person, their disappointment was very palpable. A veritable nightmare at the late witching hour, my son could not contain his upset and exhaustion. I prayed for some place, any place soft and safe for us to rest our heads. A garage, a shed, a barn, a manger, anything. Alas, we were saved, at least by one proprietor who understood that the color of money was the same no matter whose hand it was in. My birthday came and went. I received a message from one sister, one cousin, and a few friends on Facebook who could be bothered to DM me once they noticed that my profile page was closed to comments. After the depths of depravity and shallow self-absorption I had witnessed during my hermetization and reclusion, I was not at all surprised that my privacy settings proved an unnavigable firewall to celebrate me. We have devolved into a race that no longer looks for ways to overcome obstacles to do the right thing, but instead we look for obstacles, real or imagined, in order to not do anything. The stomach flu was my son's gift to me and was one that kept on giving. Those battles in the bathroom were some of the longest and darkest I have had to fight with little reprieve. I struggled to maintain some modicum of dignity while defecating execrably. Fevered delirium felt like an easy extension to spiritual psychosis, and my shit-stained sheets were a Rorschach test reflecting my deepest humiliations. But there is hope. Pandora's box of misfortune may have erupted like my fragile, flu-filled bowels, but there is still hope. For one, my job was replaced within a day of our return. Up until and even during the dark night, I attempted to maintain my normal routine, which included for me volunteering around town. One of my volunteer positions was to make meals for the houseless individuals in my community through an organization operating out of a church around the corner. It was almost an afterthought to stop by as I was passing the neighborhood again on our way to one of the motels. I greeted my fellow volunteers with relief, knowing that there, at least, I would get the compassion and validation I so desperately needed. They, too, believed that adequate housing was a human right. They would not judge me, period, even if they did not already know me. I was only there for a few minutes when the director arrived and offered me a job. Well, an internship. It's not a long-term position. It's not a rate of pay that would keep us in coffee or crayons, but it was all they could offer me, and I considered it testimony to my positive impact in the community. Social credit turned to income. It was also proof of my effort, and my will to power. The other hope is that with that proof of income, I would be able to procure housing. We've been told we may be approved for housing any day now, but that any day now has stretched into weeks. And yet we cling to those words like a prayer's promise, repeating like litany until the words lose meaning. I try to stay grateful, I do, but sometimes the gratitude runs dry. Sometimes there's simply not enough material to fuel the fire of faith. So instead, my prayers, in their failure to fly to fulfillment, fall heavy into fantasy. In my fantasies, the world is not just kind, but radically transformed. There is global commitment to peace. No more innocent lives lost to senseless wars fought over what little remains of non-renewable resources. Corporate greed is balanced, if not checked, by corporate commitment to redistribution of resources. In it, they innovate not just for profit, but for people. They create jobs that generate meaning, not just margins. They partner with communities rather than exploit them. They build rather than extract. These corporations are not nameless or faceless, with only one untouchable billionaire founder to be scapegoated for the compliance of thousands of workers. There is across-the-board accountability. Our neighbors do not just live next door to us. They are the laborers in China. Our children are those babies in the mines. They are the first fallen on the front lines. Their newly learned dexterity not quick or sure enough to pull the life-saving trigger. We all belong to each other, not just within the imaginary boundaries that divide. This is not to say that borders are meaningless and should be universally discarded. No, the meaning is that people should feel safe wherever they are, and with no need to seek refuge elsewhere. It means that our freedom is dependent on others being free, so that there is no need to take what is quote-unquote ours. They have their own, and it too is good. This makes for cleaner, quieter, and safer streets. Citizens that are concerned and curious about each other, not suspicious and judgmental. People are approachable versus confrontational. We are all eager to help, to alleviate pain, to heal and be healers one to another. In this perfect vision, my family and I do not find housing, we choose it. That word alone carries the weight of privilege and power of the plight of homelessness. It's a form of freedom. We own a home in a safe, quiet neighborhood because they all are. There is no shortage of parks and green spaces for my son to roam, and an adequate and expansive public infrastructure to carry us wherever we need to go. My little truck would have been obsolete even if it had made it to this fantasy future. Our home is peace incarnate, small enough to manage and maintain, but large enough to find one's own solace or to entertain. There is more than one fireplace to warm us, an extensive library to keep us entertained. A lush garden is landscaped throughout the grounds, and the happy splash of birds in the water features a reminder that a home is not just shelter. It is sanctuary. I can be vulnerable here, naked, no armor necessary. Perhaps I'm back in grad school, finishing my degree in psychology. Or perhaps I retire from the desire to make my career my worth, and instead I focus on home. My son thriving once more amongst his peers in his Japanese immersion program. His imaginary friend, an introjected father figure, is made manifest in the flesh, escaping his mind and coming to life. He's a beautiful man, not unlike the idealized man that died riding shotgun in our car crash, or the one eager to run away with us. Only this man would never, ever have taken part in, nor been complicit in our pain. This man is an ideal partner, kind and strong, with an artist's sensibility and an edgy roughness that comes out controlled and curated. No safe word necessary. Together, we parent with love and purpose, have each other's back in all things, and inspire other couples to do the work. We're silly. We travel. We play. There's laughter. There's ease. There's meaning. It's the antithesis to the dark night nonsense we endured. And I say we because even in my most personal psychosis, I felt the weight of it ripple outward. My loved ones, my community, even the world seemed to fracture alongside me. As within, so without. I couldn't help but feel the cosmic connection, like my personal apocalypse was somehow echoed in the collective. It all happened so fast and yet so slow. Time dilated and lessons from my past reappeared with an agonizing antagonism I could not escape. Years now, it's been. I feel as if every collective cosmic misfortune was all my fault. And yet, how could a nobody like me affect anything? To that end, how could someone so well-meaning have affected anything negatively? What were the rules to this suffering spiral and descent into hell? What program was running this simulation of quicksand such that whatever move I made in a perceived positive direction made me sink further into darkness and despair? It was sanity shattering. But now, in my fantasy, the light wins. All poverty, financial, psychological, and spiritual ends. All madness made sane, and all depravity replaced with dignity, regality even. Suffering ends, and in its place, all manner of abundance. A birthright finally and fully claimed. We have enough. We are enough. I'm reborn, renewed, renovated, remodeled? Spiritual feng shuied and expanded beyond recognition, having shed so much of what no longer serves. Room for more light. We are grateful for the journey, and even more grateful that it's ending. Now I say this with both temerity and determination because maybe the best way to integrate something that feels never ending is to dream its conclusion, to speak the future into form, to manifest better. Now. Amen.